Okay. 5 o'clock. Welcome everyone, and we'll open the meeting Tuesday the 15th of April. In accordance with the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, the public is advised that proceedings of the meeting of Council will be recorded on digital media to assist in preparation of the minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussions of the meeting is available. West Coast Council acknowledges the traditional custodians on the land in which we gather today and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 97 is record of attendance, apologies and leave of absence. All councillors are in attendance. Thank you. Item 98 is financial interest declaration. This time of the meeting, any councillor with a financial interest in any item on the agenda may declare it now or wait till before discussion of that item on the agenda. At this stage, item 99 is confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held at the council chambers on Tuesday the 25th of March 2025. A copy of which, having previously been circulated to councillors prior to the meeting, be confirmed as a true and accurate record. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Jordan, second. Councillor.
Could I make an amendment to those minutes, please?
Ken.
Thank you. Just to add the additional workshop onto my diary, please, and apologies, Billy, for not getting it in on time with the meeting being so much earlier in the month. My deepest apologies.
Thank you. Move for Councillor Jordan, second, please. Councillor McKay. Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against? One against. Item 100 is public participation question time. So this part of the meeting, we have 15 minutes of the meeting set up available for questions from members of the public. Can you, for those in the public who wish to ask a question, can you please give your name and your address before asking the question?
I have two. So it's Terry Barclay, 25 McNamara Street, Queenstown. My first is not really a question. It's a petition that was put together by Jenny Groves of 27 McNamara Street. She couldn't be here tonight, so she's asked me to hand this to the council so that we know when it gets to you. And it is the officers, can I bring it to you? Yep. This is in regards to the removal of the Napa carpet trees at Nell Street, and there are 30 signatures on that. That was as far as I'm going to go with that one. My second one is basically I'm bringing up a question that I brought forward probably around 5 months ago, and this will be the third council meeting that I've brought it up at. And it's not an important issue. It's not an important question. It's just that I have not had an answer in the 5 or so months that it's been since I first asked the question. And the question was about the opening hours of our toilet blocks. Now, my real question here is there any sort of policy from council about when the public is replied to when they present a question to council? Because I hear in the community here constantly that there is a lack of belief in the council and that council is not communicating with people. Now, I take all of that with a grain of salt until I experience things myself. I now feel a little bit that I'm experiencing this lack of communication, this being the third time that I've brought this question forward. Again, it's not an important question, but the fact is I've never had a reply. So I guess I'm just bringing it to council's attention. There seems to be a feeling in the community that council is not communicating with people. My experience thus far on such a small item just seems to confirm that from there. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And if I could get an answer at some point, that would be lovely.
Thank you. I'll take that on notice. But we can say that that topic has been discussed around this table on numerous occasions when the opening hours of the toilets and the changes of the opening hours of the toilets, we have discussed that as well. And there is an item on the agenda about the change of that. Councillor McKay.
Just to respond to that, we have asked that question and apologise that it hasn't been answered, but I think it's just fallen through the cracks with the change of staff, as how that's happened. We've had the change of the general manager, and then Aaron was going to follow it up when Barry was the interim GM, and now Scott's on board. So I'm sure our new general manager will follow that up, and we will have an answer.
Any other questions? Thank you. Item 101 is council raised issues and information. We have no questions on notice. Questions without notice. Any questions without notice? Councillor McKay.
I've just got ownership and management of the Port of Straw. Can an update be provided to councillors on the current ownership and management status of the Port of Straw, specifically whether it remains under the ownership and operational responsibility of the West Coast Council? If so, could an update also be provided on the current schedule of fees and charges for berthing and slipping services managed by council?
Through Mr. Mayor, certainly happy to circulate something to council in that respect. Yeah.
Thank you, General Manager. Any other questions about notice? No other questions about notice? Motions on notice. Councillor Graham, you have a motion on notice.
I do. Read the motion first or the background there?
The motion first, thank you, Councillor.
That the Mayor, my motion is that the Mayor write to community access standards and demand that the community be consulted on the appropriate placement of the reverse vending machines so that all members of our community can access the machines at any time without the burden of entering the land on licensed premises. Stop to the placement of these reverse vending machines until appropriate community consultation has been demonstrated. So that's my motion. Background, we had a discussion with the, I can't think of that lady's name at the last meeting, the last workshop, from Tomra Cleanaway, who are responsible for the installation of these vending machines. And it appears from the advice from Andy Brewery, that was the person, from Tomra Cleanaway, that the decision to nominate a hotel for both the container drop-off points for container deposit reverse vending machines here on the West Coast was made by the state government's community access standards. So I have not heard of these people, therefore they have not been in any form of engagement with me, and I surmise any of you, being our Mayor, Deputy Mayor and fellow councillors. This is not how our community expects its elected members, its elected representatives to act on their behalf. And accordingly, I do not accept these pre-selected positions at a pub in both instances as appropriate places for families to be forced to enter to reclaim the return on the container deposit scheme. Forcing families to enter the land of a licensed premises to recycle containers under this container deposit scheme is completely inappropriate and potentially at odds with the Liquor Licensing Act. Should an underage person enter, the premises are unoccupied by an adult. I therefore wish to establish if my fellow councillors share my sentiments and whether the community access standards, whomever they are, must consult with the community leaders prior to simply enforcing their decisions on our potentially vulnerable community members. I therefore propose that motion. So just for the background information, we've got, thank you Scott for providing this, what's his name? Peter Craze, Network Development and Compliance Manager from Tomra Cleanaway, has given his interpretation of the Liquor Licensing Act. I see his points and I accept his points. He's referring to the service and access. He's referenced section 71, 72 and 73. My reference is to section 61, licensee to prohibit and or restrict entry of young people to certain parts of the licensed premises. And i.e., section 61A, enter or remain on any part of the licensed premises. So a person under the age of 18 cannot go to the container deposit machine unless they're accompanied by an adult. And they have to go to the licensed premises land, on the land of the licensed premises, and they're situated right next door to the outdoor smoking areas in both circumstances, which for me, as an elected member of this community, is deplorable, a disgraceful, district. Section
We need,
65.
before we discuss this any further, we need a second for the motion, please. We've got a second by councillor McKay. Thank you.
So, and section 65, the licensee must not allow a person to enter or remain on any part of a licensed premises where liquor is normally sold at any time between 15 minutes after the time when the sale of liquor on the premises under the authority of the liquor licence permit ceases. In other words, they might be open from 10 till midnight. So no one can be on that premises outside of that time, outside of those hours. So you can't, basically, you can't go. That says anybody, not a person. It doesn't talk about whether you're underage or not. No person can be on the premises after the hour, 15 minutes inside the expiry date. So therefore, legally, people cannot access these machines outside of the hours of the operation of the pub. That's my interpretation. Happy to be told otherwise. So there are a couple of reasons why. Councillor Ivanicki raised another really, really important issue, was that it's right beside the drive-through thoroughfare for vehicles coming in and out of the Empire Hotel. So it's a danger. I mean, it's just a deplorable situation in my opinion. So hence my motion, and interested to see whether people are interested in supporting it.
Thank you, councillor. Any other discussions for the motion? I've got one that the parking in that area also is minimal, so you will have people maybe crossing the street to access that area because there's not a lot of parking on that side of the street to be able to access. If people are stopping there to deposit there.
Imagine they were taking measured bags or boxes. You're not going to go with one or two kids. You're going to have, you're going to have quite a bit of stuff through these machines. So you're going to be there for a bit, aren't you?
Yes, and further to that, my overriding concern is the health and safety. So traffic that it creates, as well as being next to a smoking area, just doesn't set anyone up for success.
Especially the one in Queenstown. The one in Zone's probably a bit of parking area there, but it still negates it's next to the pub.
And the smoking.
And smoking area, yep. Any other discussions for or against the motion?
Yeah,
Motion, I mean, so.
I support Councillor Brown's motion, for the reasons that are outlined. The traffic, it's right on the side of the footpath, parking space, availability, and the biggest thing is that there was no consultation with us or our community about where we might want to have these machines located.
It'd be interesting to see whether, was there any consultation? That's what I want. Yeah. You're saying there wasn't, but
I would have thought a statewide container scheme, we would have been the first
yes.
place to stop to get West Coast information on.
Yeah.
Who we go to, what might work.
Before we write to anyone, should we find out first if there was a consultation process and why it just appeared?
I presume the consultation was with the properties for the installation, and that's about it.
Overarching responsibility for waste management rests with local government.
Yes.
And any decision around the operation of any form of waste management within a municipality should have come from the state, given our legal responsibility for it.
Yep. Any other discussions for or against the matter, councillors? Or could you vote? No?
Yeah, that's right, haven't we? We've got a second.
Yeah, we've got a second. Councillor McKay seconded, so we'll put to a vote. All those in favour? Against? One against. Thank you, councillors. Item 102 is the Mayor and Councillor's diaries and communications. For noting, the Council resolved that Mayors and Councillors' diaries and communications as presented be noted. Any discussions on any of that matter, councillors? Okay, item 103 is council workshops. Council resolved to note the following workshops were conducted by council since the last ordinary meeting. The 25th of March, we had the Parks and Wildlife, next iconic walk update, recycle rewards with Cleanaway, Tomra Cleanaway. Targets amended to the Local Government Act, rates policy, paper 4, and the TPA presentation regarding the Tulla Skate Park and basketball ring. And today we had the youth participation workshop at the library. Any discussions on any of that, councillors? Just for noting.
Through Mr Mayor, I confirmed that I attended Tulla and caught up with the Progress Association and had a couple of tasks out of that, so completed that last Saturday.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item 104 is council decision status report action item list. Council resolves that the status report action item of open council meeting decisions be received. Any discussions on any of that, on any of them matters, councillors? Councillor McKay.
Could I please make a suggestion that we take this list to a workshop and prioritise the list and get some action items? And I guess I'm sick of bringing the Harley Street backbreaker to the table, so I'd like to go a different tack to take it to a workshop and try and prioritise some of the list.
Through Mr Mayor, I have followed up with the acting manager of infrastructure and operations in relation to Harley Street. There's a little bit of work that we need to do, and then I'll certainly be corresponding with State Road. I just need to understand the context of a couple of the items on the list, but I'm more than happy to bring back a workshop for council to start some prioritisation.
Probably might help you to understand where it came from for us too, you know.
That's right.
Given that we have got new staff in the in positions,
appreciate
let's
Yeah, for sure.
we can
And
work
I'd
through that.
also add to that, Vice Mayor, the Clark's jetty as well is still closed.
Yeah, well, that was brought up at one of the meetings, which is not on here, and
No.
about approaching Mars for funding for that. So probably something that needs to be added to that list. Thank you, councillor. Any other discussions? Councillor Ivanicky.
Through you, Mayor, I have two comments and observations. One, well, Ms. Barclay is here. I hoped that she and Jenny were going to get a response about the trees that they were concerned about, especially in light of their recent fire. So I was hoping that we might be some way to formulate a response so it doesn't fall through the cracks.
Through Mr Mayor, for feedback to Jenny, it's only been a short time since the last meeting, but I have followed up with the infrastructure and operations. They have advised me that there was an inspection done last year, there's another one scheduled, but I will be getting there ASAP now that I've picked up a couple of other things to go and have a look at myself. So that will help me inform the process around assessing whether something needs to happen strategically with them.
Yeah. Thank you. And my other question around the action item list on page 21 is again the nurse practitioner project status. I'd be really keen to get an update on the status of the project, and certainly, you know, asking you, Mr. Mayor, if you can instruct the GM to write to the project coordinators asking, you know, for an update on the project, the timeline, and when we can expect to see things happening on the ground. I just had this terrible vision of someone sitting with a bag of money somewhere else and we're not getting the benefit of that.
I can speak to that. I believe both state and federal funding for the nurse practitioners program has been dissolved. So that's late now, all right, and I believe there's a lot of people I've asked, and obviously we need to reassess how that impacts on us, obviously fairly significantly, given the way we're going to go. But yeah, at this point in time, that was the last advice, and it was publicly announced. Fully funding for the nurse practitioner program right across the state. So let me check on that, and at this point in time, that's my latest note.
How very disappointing.
Oh,
Right?
just a
Very
slap in the
disappointing.
face, isn't it?
Well, given that I thought they'd contracted the organisation, Huon Helpful.
I think the nurse practitioner program has been refunded. I will follow that up myself
Through the
through the committee.
committee. Yeah. Thank you, councillor. Any other questions on the action item list, councillors? No? Item 105 is committees of council. Council resolves that the council committee reports as presented be noted. I don't think we had any. No. Item 106 is the general manager's report. The general manager's report as presented be noted. Someone like to move that way, please, for discussion. Move Councillor Ivanicki, seconded Councillor Butterfield. Open for discussions, councillors. Any discussions? Yes.
You knew I would. I have a question on the financials, so probably point to you, Bill. Page 29, with our financial position, note 1 is that the cash is forecast to be higher by, is that 6 million? I just wanted to unpack that a little bit, if I can, please.
Sure, Ms. I'll have to take that on notice, so you can have a chat to Joe about it, and then I'll send out an email around that. That's okay.
Thanks.
Any other? Yes, Councillor McCarthy.
Why, thank you. Page 36, our Zeehan Pool and redevelopment. Do we have an expected timeline for completion as we're sitting at April?
Through Mr. Mayor, I drove past the other day, there was water in the pool, and I have sent an email seeking some clarity, but I don't have a response at this point in time.
I would love to have an update on the completion date.
Yep.
For that one. And also if do we have an update on the completion of the Strawn Rec facility?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'll take it one of those.
If we could all be updated on that would be appreciated, and also a site visit to those.
Yep.
Would be appreciated.
Just page 45, if I could through your chair. Just on the,
Excuse me, councillor Hammond, what number, page number?
45.
45. We're still not identifying what's grant money and what's ratepayers' money or other funds. Could we identify
For the CapEx you're talking about?
yeah, because it says here the gym redevelopment was grant money, but it's just not showing where all the finances are coming from. Or is that an
It was all-
on-purpose thing, or I
No.
brought it up at the last meeting and
Through Mr. Mayor, I can certainly chase that up. We did have conversations about identifying them, but I don't know whether that was actually able to be done in the short time between since the last meeting.
oh no, thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Ivanicki?
Yes, councillor McKay asked the question I wanted to know about the Zeehan Pool. And my next question following up from councillor McKay about the Strawn Rec, is really around those procurement plans to outfit the gym. I'm hoping that we've got some kind of a strategy and a plan, because it isn't as simple as just picking 2 treadmills out of a catalogue. We really need to spend some time thinking about what the community wants to see in there.
Through Mr. Mayor, I would imagine we should be talking to the stakeholders about exactly what they would like to see in terms of that fit out.
There has been some correspondence around the one in Zeehan. local resident in Zoom, or from a resident in Zoom, not a local resident, around some of the equipment that was passed on to the facilities coordinator some time ago. So just he's quite adverse to gyms, so he knows a little bit about the right equipment that we're putting in their gyms.
I think, part of that stakeholder analysis is to make it, or certainly give appreciation that, we're not a large municipality, so, you're not going to be expecting what you get in the private, the expectations need to be set along the way here,
Needs to be balanced again.
Absolutely. A lot of the 7 on, 7 off guys we've got, they actually learn girls. They live in areas where they've got access to much greater services and they pay a much greater fee for it. We're not going to be able to provide that same level of service here. There's no intention to do so. So we need to make that clear during the consultation stage.
But on the other hand, there is some organisations out there that will put some money to certain equipment.
Yeah, but we just don't have the space to provide what they might be used to.
Any other questions, Councillor McKay?
Just, the growth and change, page 54, the fly to health, probably directed you, Councillor Graham.
I'm not telling you.
You weren't going to tell me either, were you? The fly to health, have we ironed out the issues with that? I've not seen any advertisement or details of them coming again.
Yeah, they're pushing out to the 7th of May, and it may move out to, I think, the 3rd of June is the I think they probably will go out to the 3rd of June. Yeah, there were some issues on both sides, but certainly their booking sheets that they had, online sheets, and their lack of assistance at the other end for a phone booking was problematic. So through a whole process of negotiations with Flight Health, we've managed to work through a lot of these issues now, and we're starting to get the numbers coming back up that they need. Podiatry numbers are looking really good. Up until our last meeting last week, there was only 2 confirmed OT and 2 confirmed speech therapy people. We know there's a much greater need, but there's constraints for people to get the initial access. They need an initial consult and a report for them to access things like NDIS funding and other types of insurance funding, privately or otherwise, and my aged care funding. You need an initial report, and to get an initial report, you need to see a speech therapist. You pay for the therapist, so it's a catch-22. So we haven't completely ironed out those. There's certainly a great need, we know, but we've got to get past this barrier of the very first consult so that we can get an ongoing process. So that's where we're starting at the moment. Podiatry is looking really, really good. It may turn out that we will go ahead with the 2 speech, 2 OT, and I think we've got a full book for actually putting a second podiatrist on. They've filled the book for 1, and they're ready 2. So we're doing really well on one aspect of it. We just need to iron out some of the problems with the other. But we're not giving up. We have got some battles. We've had some problems, and they're keen. They're still coming to all their other service points in Tasmania. So we're working on it. But there's no point in going further to the public until we know exactly when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen. So there's some issues around the travel component doesn't go away. It just becomes so much more easier for everybody's pocket when you spread it across the floor through the whole day. So the travel component, we're trying to get down to $200 per person. Depends on where you fill the book. If you can't fill the book, then we've got to spread it across the clients at that particular service provider has for the day. And we're sourcing.
I was just going to say, there to Councillor Graham, I think this is actually where some of our major industries can put their money where their mouth is. So, for those residents who can't afford that $200 or $400 travel component, how can we encourage these businesses to support the community that supports them?
And our growth, and I'll just say Sky and her team are working with all of those, not only to cover the travel, but see if they can cough consult costs because the initial consult cost is not covered within the plan. You have to fund it yourself. So some of those, I mean, mine was $7,000, $7,000 we pay to get our initial consult. And most people can't afford that. So it's a real big problem for average to get to an OT. For the OT consult takes about 4 hours, and it's a massive cost. So we're trying to see if we can get these organisations to help cough up for some of that too. But there's a barrier with the initial consult. Then once they get that consult through, get their plans approved, and all of this, we've got to break that barrier.
And that's only for the NDIS clients.
My aged care, NDIS, some healthcare, some private health insurances. It doesn't matter, to get a program approved, or through MAIB, through iCare, through there's a whole heap of other potential funding organisations for these service providers, you have to have the initial consult, which recommends the frequency and time frame of the service that they will and can provide for that patient. So that initial service consult is really, really important. We would normally, everyone on the West Coast would go away for that. Take the first one I had to go to Melbourne for. Right, so it's a big barrier. But, and as Councillor Ogden said, we really are pushing. These guys have got their hands up saying, I've got all this community money, some of them unexpended for several financial periods now. And we're talking lots of money, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars out there. Some of it can be put to really good use to help some of the community members. We're pushing them pretty hard.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions, councillors?
I was just going to ask a question on page 52, the abatements. It says how many we've issued in the previous year. I was wondering if we could get a completion percentage.
Certainly 3 has been taken on those, but just to bring council up to date, I'm pleased to be going around with Councillor Newman and a community member to have a look at some of the high risk areas we've seen today. Certainly coming back with some work that's currently being done in the team to actually brief council about what I think a new strategy will look like as it moves forward to address that risk. I've previously communicated to council that we will most likely put a hand up for some state government funding as part of their annual program of installing essentially fibre racks, but we've got one season to get through before we get there. So there's work being done in the background, certainly happy to bring them forward.
Any other questions, councillors? I've just got one on the creation of the community transport option flyer. Has that been circulated, do you know?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'm sure Scott and the team have circulated that as part of trying to promote Fly to Health Solutions. I'm sure that's gone out. I saw a draft and I'm quite confident it's gone out and been circulated through around.
I haven't kept up with the socials, but
It was a very good flyer too. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Great information.
Is it worth, are they in paper form or just on social media?
I don't say that.
Social media.
Yeah, social media posts.
I'll circulate.
Organisations that we may be involved in as well. Yep. Thank you. Any other questions, councillor? No, I'll put the general manager's report to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 1 is correspondence. The council resolved the correspondence both incoming and outgoing as presented be noted. The only one we've got there is replies Queensland Amateur Swimming Club, which I've replied to that. Any other responses, councillors, that we may need to respond to any of them other correspondence?
Just for noting there, it's fantastic from member MP Felix Ellis, the notification of the 10 houses to be constructed in Queenstown for the health service.
Yep.
Do we have any more details? Can, unpack that a little bit? Is it for paramedics? Is it specifically targeting, health professionals that we need, or is it just a general blanket?
So it's part of our submission to the state government election last time, with $5 million they put on the table for housing for government employees, so that's where it is. So it's around the health, with discussions that we've had over that, or during that period, so that's where that money's come from.
That's
It's
a
a state
really-
election. So for health nurses mainly, given that we did highlight the issues that the nursing staff have here at the hospital. But no doubt that's probably will transpose into paramedic housing as well if required.
10 houses is an absolute bonus to attract good staffing levels.
It is.
That's all.
Question?
Yes. Any other discussions, councillors, on any of the correspondence? Just one thing there, the letter from Scott to the unconformity about the open hall. I was at that event, and I do suggest that if councillors, the next open hall, get an opportunity to attend the open halls, they are a great opportunity to meet the artists that they bring along to that event. And the guy that was, or the two guys that were there was quite spectacular. With Councillor McKay was there as well. So yeah, no, it was a great event. So if you have the opportunity, please.
Wasn't quite ready for how in depth it got.
That's a simple visit, Tony,
Yeah. It was great. Great opportunity. Okay, item 108 is the report noting on growth and change acquittals. The recommendation is that council note this report and attach acquittals from the state level basketball training, the Lord Rich Art Orchestra, Rook Productions, Circus Across Tasmania, the Queenstown Lions Lady Christmas Parade, and the Strong Picnic Committee. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Jordan, seconded Councillor Hamer. Open for discussions, Councillor. Any discussions on that?
As always, I like to compliment the organisations for the acquittals. It's excellent to see, and in particular, the Strong Picnics was really thorough, and I like the quotes. Actually, I think somebody said that they moved away and they come from Launceston every year now.
Yeah.
That was a nice touch to put that in there, and pictures.
And the orchestra was good. And the Memorial Hall was a great setting. Okay, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Item 109 is also a growth and change acquittals for Strong Primary School End of Year Awards and St Joseph Primary School Roseby End of Year Awards. The recommendation is that council note this report and attach acquittals for the Strong Primary School for their End of Year Awards. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Hamer, seconded Councillor Newman. Open for discussions, Councillor. Any discussions on the matters?
Again, it's great to see, professionally done acquittals. Looking at the people who have done it, it's probably cost them half of the grand amount to acquittal, really, when you add it all up. Very good on it, really.
Okay, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 110 is the health report on health and wellbeing strategy 25 to 2030 adoption. Recommendation is council review community feedback and adopt the health and wellbeing strategy 2025 to 2030. For discussion, someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Graham, seconded Councillor Butterfield. Open for discussions, councillors. Any discussions on the matter? Any fact?
I have one through you, Chair.
Yes.
It just says here it exceeds council's risk appetite. Is that a concern or?
No, that's
not in anything else, and I just thought,
In relation to, Mr Mayor, in terms of page one oh two, all the boxes indicated within the council's risk appetite.
We're all green, councillor.
oh, no, that's all right,
The
yep,
bottom one's the legend.
yep, sorry.
I've got one on page 110. Is that our role in realising the strategy. So we need Mr. Nara of strategy, I'm guessing.
Right.
Well caught, Mr Mayor.
I will say that the Sky Hill team and a lot of other people have put an enormous amount of effort into this, and it's come out really well. I'm really pleased with it. I think it's a long way to satisfying our legislative requirements, as well as setting the community up with a great plan for the next 5 years. Congratulations to all the governments. Brilliant, brilliant.
Nice, great work. And, you know, when you look at some of the feedback that the survey put out,
Yeah,
compliment.
absolutely.
Mr Mayor, have we proceeded anywhere with Deputy Mayor Butterfield's non-smoking in the CBD areas?
Really, Mr Mayor, it's on my priority list, but not at the top at this point in time. I am acutely aware of our challenges in that space, and I'm working on that.
Okay, any other discussions on that, councillors?
I'd just like that in, I think it's good that, include what the community told us what they wanted, include that in the document, also the guiding principles in there, that plain, that's simple.
Okay, no other discussions, councillors? We'll put that one to a vote. All those in favour? Against?
I'm undecided, I'm just not happy to vote. I'll do that,
Abstain.
just undecided.
Thanks, councillors. Item 111 is the report, open report. The recommendation is the council receives and notes the proposed targeted amendments to the Local Government Act 1993 reform submission and endorses the action of the General Manager in lodging the submission. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Graham, second Councillor Butterfield. Open for discussions, Councillor. Now, most of this is, we did workshop this, and these are the points that the General Manager took out of that meeting.
Probably summarising more pretty well.
Yeah.
In this one.
Great work in that front, I must admit. Picked up everything and, yeah. No other discussions, councillors? Put that one to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, item 112 is matters for proposed for a closed meeting. Recommendation is items 114 to 121, 2025 discussed by council in closed session. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Ivanighi, second Councillor Jordan. Council vote, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, thank you very much for your attendance.